These two are the most unlucky people at sea. Others fish for tuna for an hour or two. I can catch a fish as big as 20 feet. But the brother and sister were out of luck. I've been fighting my ass off for over 8 hours without success. In the end, I had to pay for help, just to get this 2.7 tuna down. I don't know how much easier it is for those who are good at fishing. Captain Taylor of the Windmill. Today I had a different idea. Decided to replace the mackerel bait with squid. Looking forward to a bumper harvest on an empty week-long deck. That's when Doug called. It seems that there is an urgent need to pour out grievances. The puzzle is the programming. Why don't you broadcast their calls? I'm really sorry for Doug. He worked diligently on deck day after day, but Paul finally forced him to leave. Dave, captain of the tuna net. I'm sorry about Doug, too, but now he must fight for himself. He took out his notebook and recorded a coordinate in it. He caught several big fish here last year. Faced with the plight of tuna not taking the bait, he decided to give it a try. There's a lot of hope that this will be a success. With the sun breaking dawn, they reached the recorded fishing spot. It's an extraordinary place just a short time ago. The detector shows fish activity 100 feet below the surface. And Fortuna. Sandro quickly sets up the mackerel bait. As soon as the tuna was released, he snapped the hook. Watching the speed of the line, the three knew it was a big one. Jody was recycling the fishing line. Spotted a fishing boat ahead. The tuna seems to be heading that way. Several people's hearts suddenly hung up. They were afraid that the fishing line would become entangled and break. After Sandro took the fishing rod again, work away without a word. The battle lasted an hour, but the tuna still hasn't surfaced. Fortunately, it has risen a few meters. Sandro did everything he could. The movement of the hand quickens. Fortunately, the result was satisfactory. The tuna finally emerged from the sea. They saw the fish, too. Dave picked up the harpoon nearby. Look like you're ready for action. Wait for the tuna to get within striking distance. He succeeded in hitting the fish's head. Jody then uses his fishing rod to pull the tuna towards the boat and tie a rope around the tail. Caught the first tuna of the day. Looks like Dave's notebook did work. Just as we got to the record spot, we caught this giant fish. Finally, the tape measure measured the fish to be 2 meters long. It's a tuna that meets fishing regulations. The two men on the windmill looked despondent. He kept talking about the last tuna. There are so many whales around. Why didn't the tuna bite? While Marissa sets up the squid in the back. The detector in front of Tyler is moving. The alarm was very loud. After he broke the news to Marissa, the two men stared closely at the fishing rod. Suddenly, the fishing rod twisted. Tyler and Marissa move quickly. Recover bow anchors and excess fishing rods. Clean up unnecessary clutter. Taylor moved the rod into the open. Marissa takes over the fishing pole again. Start pulling the tuna back. There seems to be a crab pot up ahead. Fortunately, they are used to it. Hook the cage up easily. When the crab pot rope is pulled away, Marissa noticed something unusual about the tuna. Seems to have pulled the rope. Taylor immediately went to check it out. After confirming that there was no such thing, Marissa was able to get back to work. The tuna net on the other side arrived at the port and started selling tuna. Dave looked at the giant fish, which was 2.6 long. I expected to have high-quality fish, so we could take the baby out. After removing the unwanted parts of the tuna, the net weight is still 500 pounds and 227 kilograms. The fish quality looks pretty good. The core is in excellent condition. The meat is rich and fat, so the buyer is willing to pay $16 for it. Made them $8,000. Faced with this huge sum of money, Dave couldn't help but enjoy himself. A few people on the hard goods number. There's a slight lag in getting the message. I just heard Doug threw Paul into the sea, although it has been known for some time. Were they isolated from the rest of the fleet? But that doesn't seem to be the case. The ship's detectors suddenly sounded the alarm. It shows 3 tuna in the vicinity. The fishing rod could get snagged at any moment. Jason and Joe quickly stood on the deck and watched. Soon the tuna bites the fishing rod. Meisha immediately started the ship. Jason is also in the back, collecting the fishing line. A new tuna fishing war has begun. I wonder if Jason can end this fight quickly. Judging by the way he's holding the rod, doesn't seem to be in a hurry. Instead, the tuna drags the line along. Turns out he's using up the tuna's energy. The young man's strategy was brilliant. The fighting has been going on for an hour. The tuna has risen several meters. After Joe started helping Jason, the tuna is showing signs of decline. The fish was in danger of being caught. But when Joe picked up the speed on his hands, the line snapped. The suddenness of the situation was unexpected. The two men on the windmill. We have been fighting for 2 hours. The tuna still hasn't been hauled on deck. It looks like the size of this fish is enormous. It could even weigh 400 kilos. Then the tuna was pulled to the surface by Marissa. The moment it appeared, Tyler was sure. This fish is super big. All he wanted to do was give the tuna a forkful. Yet the fish still seems to have strength. The tail wagged even faster. That translates to over 70 kilometers an hour. Definitely the best of the pack. Another half hour of fighting. The tuna remains in place. Fortunately, the physical strength of fish has declined. Or do I suspect this tuna belongs to Earth? After Marissa pulled the fish to the boat, Taylor quickly put the harpoon down. Miss. The tuna then fled again. Fortunately, the fishing line is still in hand. Can pull the tuna back to the boat again. It just takes a little longer. Some of the guys on the fat tuna. I have some leisure at the moment. Started gossiping about Paul and Doug's love/hate relationship. The good news is that all three are sane. Know to focus on your work. Replace all decoys with new ones. Then the detector sounded. There's a tuna 238 feet down. Suddenly, the fishing rod was bitten and bent. Apparently, a tuna bit the hook, even though the fishing rod is bent. But Manny didn't think the fish was that big. Can easily recover most of the fishing line. This made John nearby suspicious. I pushed Manny aside and started on my own. As soon as he recovered the line, the little man is telling the truth. A few strokes bring the tuna to the surface. Manny immediately picked up the harpoon, slamming it into the tuna's head. This time he succeeded. It doesn't fall through like it did the other times. Bob held the tuna's tail high. The two men tied the rope easily. This is their 9th catch of the year. After 10 minutes of cooling, together, the two men pulled the tuna onto the boat. The fish measured 2 meters long, although slightly short in size. But fortunately, it looks fatty. It's a fat tuna. OTT leads the crew today. It's a whole new fishing spot. Whales happen to be out here. Apparently, there will be tuna around soon. So he began to prepare bait. Based on the surrounding sea, OTT made a bold decision, using dead mackerel as bait. Why would he think that? Anyway, I'm not fishing for money. There was movement on the ship's detectors. 2 tuna fish appeared nearby. The fishing rod was instantly caught by the fish. Jarrett quickly adjusted the position of the fishing rod. It's time to take on the tuna. But just getting started, he noticed that the fish seemed a little clumsy. Just keep your head down and move forward. Ships suddenly appeared ahead, and 2 fishing boats. Good thing one of them belongs to Jack. When Michael got in touch, the other ship was their friend. They had to recommunicate. The ship, after the communication, drive off the other side. Jarrett is finally free to fight. But in the process of pulling, he noticed that the hook seemed to be hanging from the fish's guts. Fortunately, the tuna has been pulled to the surface. Tim took aim with his harpoon in hand. Suddenly, the rod bounced back violently. Bad tuna at a critical time. I broke my fishing line. A few people had some bad luck. Although technically there is no problem. The tuna still got away. The fat tuna is now safely back in port. They started selling their catch of tuna. Since this is their 9th fish, as long as the fish fetch a high price, they are expected to win the championship and a big lead over second place. But all this assumes that other people's fish are of inferior quality. The final fish weighed 272 pounds or 122 kilograms. The fat is evenly distributed and the core is particularly good and bright red. Overall, the fish is of good quality. You can buy it for $17 a pound. They earned $4,624. Meanwhile, Marissa and Tyler. 5 hours fighting the tuna. They were almost exhausted, but the tuna are still alive in the ocean. It was hard on Taylor, although tuna do occasionally surface. But soon they'll dive back to the bottom, teasing both of them so repeatedly. They now hold poles for much less time than they did at first. Tyler and Marissa were clearly exhausted. The battle entered its 6th hour. The two men have made remarkable progress. The tuna was no longer far away, just hovering at the bottom of the boat. But they have trouble pulling the fish out of the water. The bearing of the fishing rod suddenly broke. Taylor can no longer recover the line. The tuna also took the opportunity to flee again. To keep the fish from going too far, Marissa quickly fetched another fishing rod. Taylor twisted the lines of 2 fishing rods together, cut the fishing line from the broken bearing, then moved the rod to the other bearing. The problem was solved skillfully. I have to admit that this is an advantage of experience, if not for 10 years of fishing experience. It's hard to think of such a brilliant idea. With a new fishing rod in place, Marissa takes on tuna again. On the flight of time, it was a quiet time. They haven't seen a fish since early morning, in addition to the sea mackerel. Now, their tanks are about to hit bottom. If you don't catch a tuna in 2 hours, they will have to end their fishing trip, go back and resupply the ship. The ending was hard for them to accept, but there seems to be no other way. Suddenly, the fishing rod and the tuna come into close contact. Surprise suddenly came to my mind. Not at this last moment. There are tuna hooks. I thought I was about to get nowhere. But after securing the rod in a good hand, Nick showed off his fine fishing skills. He looks like a pure hothead, grip bearings spinning wildly. The advantage of this is, before the tuna can react, it is pulled to the surface. The disadvantage is that the wire will be broken if you are not careful. But Nick is not reckless. He had already replaced the line with a top-quality material. 1 meter alone costs $300. As the tuna floated to the surface of the boat, Jack stood beside Nick, harpoon in hand. Take aim and hit the target with 1 fork. After a successful catch of tuna, the two skillfully control the tail and tie the rope of fate. Tuna's wandering life is over, with the fish being pulled into the boat. Measurements show it to be 2.7 m long. It's a very beautiful big fat fish. After dragging it in front of Rick the buyer, remove useless parts. Remove the core and fishtail. The tuna still weighs 514 pounds, 233 kilograms. The fish and meat are perfectly matched. Bright core color. Overall fat and full. It's a very valuable tuna. The purchase price was as high as $16 a pound. The two young men ended up earning $8,224. Still fighting on the windmill. They've been working for 8 hours. Now they were exhausted. To keep this tuna from getting away, Tyler quickly radioed for help. It's amazing how quickly he gets people here. In the blink of an eye, help reached the two men's boat. Derek came menacingly to the fishing pole. It was his moment of glory. Witness his bold actions. Tyler nervously kept reminding him to slow down. The people you called here are still worried. But this tuna is tough. The two sides have been deadlocked for 8 hours and almost dragged Derek into the sea. He could not bear the grievance. With the help of strong arms, pulling the tuna back to the surface again. The fighting had stretched into the 9th hour. Derek's face was red now. The fish was still floundering in place. But fortunately, the tuna is showing signs of fatigue. It made Derek see the light at the end of the tunnel. The movements in his hands quickened again. The tuna is pulled to the water beside the boat. This is the perfect time. Tyler clenched the harpoon. I don't think twice about thrusting. This time, they finally hit the tuna. With the 3 of us working together, the fish was successfully tied to the rope. After nearly 10 hours of fierce fighting, they finally caught the tuna. Derek has added bragging rights. Tyler and Marissa had it for over 8 hours, have failed to subdue the tuna. As soon as he arrived, he quickly put an end to the battle. When the tuna is hauled on deck, they measured it to be 2.7 m long. No, you're lying about it. Jack caught the 2.7-meter fish so fast, and it took us 10 hours. Back in port, they quickly submitted the tuna to the buyer. After the acquirer weeded out the useless parts, the tuna has a net weight of 534 pounds, 242 kilograms. Remove the core and the fishtail. The buyer began to evaluate the quality. Fish is rich in fat. The core is perfect. Overall good quality. The buyer offered $18 per unit. They earned $9,612. This is since the start of this year's fishing season. Best pay of all. The final list has also changed. The Flight of Time managed to take first place. Hard Goods slipped to third place. Well, that's all for this program. Give it a thumbs up, and let's look forward to the next episode.